Back, you're watching India Market Open. Now, all through the day yesterday, three companies were in focus: REC, PFC and IREDA, apart, of course, from a clutch of PSU banks. And the reason for this was a set of draft RBI regulations that proposed the increase of provisioning for project financing. Since then, some of that panic seems to have eased off. But just to understand what would be the impact, we're speaking today to Pradip Kumar, CMD of IREDA. The company has been in news because it gained Navratna status last week, and we saw a big run-up after that as well. So, Mr. Das, thank you so much for joining us. And first, of course, kudos on the big news of gaining Navratna status. But what has sort of bothered investors, or I would say worried investors, is these new draft guidelines from the RBI. Now, having understood that these are yet to come into effect, etc., I just want to first get to the point of what would be the possible impact on IREDA if these were to come into the fore.
Yeah, thank you, Tamanna. And let me first simplify what is this draft guideline is. Not only it is prudential provisioning norms, also disciplinary mechanism through little bit of stringenting the process of PCC and PDC conditions as well as consortium lending. But at the same time, RBI used to allow 80% of the project life financing, whereas now they are allowing 85%. Somewhere they have tightened, somewhere they have also relaxed. So let us look at that. The provision of RBI draft is additional provision during the construction period stage. Why? Because during the construction period, it is perceived that project will carry fair amount of risk. Those organizations, those lenders or those developers, first of all, sincere developers should be there so that your PCC, PDC conditions, you can comply well, so that your appraisal mechanism, whatever robust in place the lenders are having, that can be complied, number one. And number two, when you are going for joint lending, fair amount of skin in the game by the joint lender has to be there. They have proposed 10%. If it is between 100 crore, then 10%, and beyond that, 150 plus 5% of that. Third, this provisioning, that 2%, 3%, and 5%. If you ask me honestly, 5% for renewable company and pure renewable company like IREDA appears to be a little harsh. If you see our cumulative loan disbursement from the beginning of the company to till date, what we have given, and today the loan book is around 59,000 crore, and the net NPA is 0.99, having private sector loan book of 75% and more, and our cumulative write-up from the inception of the company to till date is just 200 crores. So therefore, the risk perception with respect to IREDA should be completely different from others. Comparing IREDA, PFC, REC will not be fair because their loan book is 90% almost government loan account and 90 to 95% is almost fossil fuel. They are off late started lending proactively, or rather pushing it hard in renewable space because future is renewable and not much fossil fuel projects are coming up. So the government's focus of reaching this 500 gigawatt target, where we have reached so far around 191 gigawatt. Another roughly 309 gigawatt capacity addition has to happen. So when fossil is not there and renewable progress has to be made, and the size of growth what is there, company like IREDA cannot support to the sector. Today, despite everything, in NBFC space, our percentage share is around 31%. And in the total renewable financing, 35% is coming from the renewable NBFC space. So therefore, they also have to come and do this. Now, the impact for provisioning, assuming if it is going as it is, it may so happen, RBI may also relook that whatever is the risk loading is there required, they are only provisioning to be made. If you make flat 5% to wind solar, which is the moment you are setting up the project and you have a PPA, it is a completely de-risked project. Then why you need to have that kind of provisioning? And then construction period of this project is hardly 6 months to 1.5 years. And our loan book, if you see, almost 75%, so 25% is in new and emerging, and 75% is coming under risk-free zone. So therefore, the additional provisioning what we are going to have, assuming if it is adopted as it is, not
So, okay,
significant
Mr.
amount is
Das,
going to impact.
I just want to understand, when you look at these guidelines as someone running this business, now what next? Do you start building in mechanisms for a possible provisioning if this comes in? Do you start getting more picky and judicious to the extent of such projects that you pick up? I'm just trying to understand from your point of view, how does this impact your strategy?
See, already the NBFCs is indirectly having this kind of provisioning mechanism because we are doing the provisioning through true and fair methodology, that is Ind AS adoption. So that expected credit loss methodology, it's a mathematical probability science, you can say, with respect to the risk perception, the project which is carrying, that is to be taken. Whereas banks have not adopted so far. So therefore, in case of bank, they are adopting the RBI's prudential norms. In case of NBFC, like IREDA and others, we are following the ECL provisioning methods. But when we have to compute both way, like if you see our March 24 result, our provisioning as per RBI is 1593, whereas as per our ECL is 1685. So 92 crores of cushion is still there. Now, whatever additional provisioning we have to do, 92 crore is going to meet from there itself. And if you see, 4 years back, our provision coverage ratio was only 38%. Gradually, it has gone up to now 59% almost. Now, we as responsible lender, we understand this sector well. We have already enhanced this provisioning requirement in new and emerging space. So therefore, we are not going to get that much of hit.
When you say, one minute, sir, when you say not that much of hit, can you quantify this? Because, everything is quite broad right now. Also, because you're growing rapidly. I'm trying to understand if this is discouraging you in some sense in the projects you pick.
Mathematically, we are growing rapidly, but we are growing almost at par with the Government of India's mandate. 10 years, the renewable has grown here and solar has grown 26 times. Since 4 years only, we are growing in numbers rapidly. We should have grown even 6 years back, but 10 years back. So the initial 6 years we have not grown. Therefore, this 4 years is appearing to be that we are growing very rapidly. Equity infusion has happened through Government of India's equity infusion as well as IPO. So our CRAR, which used to be at the threshold.
I agree. But having said that, when you say it will not have too much of an impact, now we've had about 24 hours to see these draft guidelines, understand, is there any back of the envelope calculation? Can you quantify when you say not that much impact? How much, if at all?
See, it will not be quite significant, let me tell you that, because as I said, this 92 crore is going to cover there. And almost around 1.5%, roughly around 1.5% provisioning in this category is already there. So if it is 2, another 0.5. So exact quantification, I cannot tell you. Now the team is working on it. And you have to see each and every project and accordingly see that. And then when we are following the expected credit loss methodology, as I said, we have gone provision coverage ratio of 38% to 59%. Maybe next quarter, automatically our provisioning as per our methodology may go up, and that up what we have planned, that may capture this gap, whatever is there. Already 92 crore is there, cushion is there. So that's why we are not worrying much. Yes, our PAT is not going to impact directly largely, but CRAR and net worth is going to have effect that way. But the kind of CRAR cushion what we are having today around our CRAR is 20%.
Right.
And the minimum we are able to 15%.
Just to understand,
so even if there is a dent, at least 17-18% will be there. So that is not going to impact our business also.
Okay. Just to understand, the other big news and why you've been in the news in the last few days is attaining Navratna status. You also had a stakeholder meeting. I just want to understand, in terms of attaining Navratna status, how does it help? Does it help you in terms of cost of funds? What are the advantages which will reflect in your balance sheet?
See, like the draft guideline came because of the perception the market is going downward. People have not understood well. And it is a discipline mechanism. And if you work in discipline methodology, then definitely you are going to gain the return in the long run. Similarly, the perception of the moment we got Navratna, the perception on us is definitely gone up. And I'm sure we'll be getting some benefit, maybe 5-10 bips of cost of borrowing improvement will be there. And again, we have also requested Government of India to allow us to get that 54EC bond. Further, we are going to reduce borrowing cost there. So as far as we are concerned, Navratna will enable us fair amount of autonomy, and that will and the perception about us in the market. Already we are having quite strong perception about our positive way of doing business. You talked about stakeholder meet. Since 4 years this concept started. Every quarter we publish the result, and we publish earliest in the country in NBFC and banking space. And every quarter we do full audits, and every quarter we call for our borrowers meet. We call them stakeholder, we don't call them borrower, because they have the stake in the company. And when they perform, our asset quality is going to improve, our rating will improve, borrowing cost will come down, we will pass on to them. So that cycle is there. And every quarter we used to do in a digital mode. So this time we did in between once in a physical mode. We used to get a lot of demand from our borrowers that please have a physical meeting. So we had a physical meeting on last Saturday, and 99.9% of our borrowers are quite satisfied the way we are doing. Certain inputs they have given to us, certain challenges they have shared with us. Those challenges with respect to a regulator like RBI, or policymaker like Government of India, or insurance authority like IREDA. So we capture those things, and our method of working is quite transparent. And we are working in a completely digitized environment. Our IREDA Business Center, we are targeting to make it a zero paper. Almost hardly our earlier paper consumption, what we used to do, 98% has been reduced. That means our digitally we are progressing. And I think the way we have enhanced the digitization, the way we have enhanced the provisioning requirement, probably our thought is somewhere getting synced with the RBI.